this is a very special time for the American Islamic College. We have been through a lot. You know, Musa and the Banu Israel and all of those children of Israel who were following him out of Egypt and into the desert, they had a 40-year period of hardship and struggle. You know, in the American Islamic College, we've had our 40 years of wandering in the desert and struggling. So we are now in a moment of God's realization of the dream of AIC. And so this is a very exciting moment for people to come on board as students, as faculty, as staff, as supporters and as donors, as community members who are believing again in the dream of AIC and now watching and helping, supporting the college to rise and to grow, God willing, into America's first great, independent, proudly Muslim university.
I was going to ask you, what did you think about that?
I like that shot. That's a very good.
Even if I'm sitting right here?
That's fine. I like the way that looks.
Okay, bro. I did not come here to argue with you, my brother Jonathan.
Never argument, sir. I appreciate that. I love hearing that.
You know, it's kind of crazy because it's not really in accord with Islamic cosmology or understanding, but the mics are not hot, are they?
Well, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, then I'll tell you later.
Absolutely.
We were not going to use it. Tell me.
You know that we can just cut that last part out, right?
Well, that's the contrast between the mystic and the prophetic. You know, the classic.
Yeah.
You know, one who's facing the divine, and the other one who is engulfed with divine light but has to face away from the divine in a way, although that's not the best imagery because the divine is everywhere, but has to face the people.
Right, and of course mysticism within an Islamic framework is also a form of mysticism that still attends to your responsibilities in the world.
Yeah.
And so even the journey from Catholicism to Islam in a way was journeying toward a model of mysticism that didn't deny the world or that didn't retreat from the world. It was like right in it.
Right.
You know?
But you know, there is a tradition within Islam that there'll come a time when the tribulations will be so great that retreat is the only option.
Yeah.
I feel like we're close to that time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the global situation is serious, you know, but again, I'm sure that the Muslims who lived at the time of the Mongol invasions, you know, that also felt apocalyptic to them. It was unimaginable what was happening. And in some ways what we witness here on a daily basis is like beyond imagination.
Right.
You know.
But you know, what are the differences, the major differences between then and now? Like, I know every age feels this, and a man resembles his time more than his father, and this has been going on forever, and every generation feels that the generation that's coming next is lost. But this time, I'll tell you, because and the reason is, all of that was happening in a backdrop of a stable, in a stable backdrop.
You mean globally, like if you zoom out?
Yeah, if you zoom out.
Okay.
Stable in the sense of the landscape, the geology, the climate, and now, you know, all of that backdrop is changing. We're becoming a geological species, the Anthropocene.
Right. That's right.
We're impacting the climate. So that stability is gone, and we're already envisioning transspeciation, transhumanism, enhancements. We've decoded the alphabet of life, and we can integrate plants and fish and you know, species without if we want it,
with all the genetic modifications.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we are now this is why I'm saying it's not the same kind of shift. We're like in a totally, and people have no idea what's coming. Like if you read some of the literature on the coming wave, as Mustafa Sulaiman talks about in his book, that you have no idea. And this is not, it's not talking about decades or centuries. It's talking
pace.
about 3 years.
Yeah, the pace is.
We already have it. It hasn't been rolled out, but we can see.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, if there's a rollout, it's going to be totally different. Everything. Which is both frightening, I have to say, and exhilarating in some ways.
Well,
I don't know.
It's exhilarating almost in a flight or fight response kind of way, like it's bracing, and we think about really, I've long thought that instead of focusing on some of the theological and legal issues that we do, whether it's permissible for women to use nail polish and whether that violates their wudu if they wear nail polish, I always tell my daughters that look, let's feed all the hungry people, let's save the planet, and then we can have a serious conversation about nail polish, right? Let's prioritize. We should be developing theologies for the survival of the human family and the entirety of the creation.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. However, some of these things, I don't know if we think of them as linear, like first this, then that. It's all intertwined.
Yeah, but I feel like nail polish is kind of on the lower end of the priority list.
In terms of the priority, sure. I'm not going to speak to those things. As again, I realize we're two men.
I know.
But you have daughters, so you can.
But the permissibility. I mean, I really think that we need to be focused on the survival of the human family and the rescuing of the creation. I mean, that's what's at stake right now, and we're hurtling toward a human-made catastrophe, the likes of which we haven't seen since the dinosaurs were wiped out. And we're hurtling toward that.
Right.
And I don't see the transformation of lifestyles. I don't see the transformation of consciousness. I see still our willingness to slaughter other people for land. Our willingness to totally and to pollute the land with all of those armaments, these industrial armaments. I think that really, if we're like in our Quran unscripted discussions about just war, given all of the ethical and moral and legal restraints that Islam places upon war, there's no way to justify modern industrial warfare.
Right. And we had a session on Catholic social teaching and the Israel-Palestine conflict at Notre Dame the other day. Same argument that a just war, because of the scale and the power of our weapons, that a just war, especially in an urban context, is just not possible. And so what does that mean to have war? But also, speaking of Ramadan unscripted, we're totally off script.
Yes.
went from cosmology to everywhere, which is so much fun with you, Dr. Timothy.
Yeah. Great conversations sharpen and shape great minds. With your support, we educate, connect communities, and deepen understanding. Every contribution magnifies our impact.